A lesson from my military days, and something that sadly I don't see a great deal of out here in my role as a business and executive coach, is the development of leadership. Now, when I joined the army back in, well, I'm going to give some dates away here, back in 1985, I immediately was exposed to different elements of leadership insofar as that started to shape me as a young soldier. And that progressed all the way through my career. So, I ended up doing 28 years. I ended up going through the ranks and finally getting commissioned as a captain. And the one thing that was really, really clear was the level and focus of development of young people in the military in terms of, identifying their leadership skills early on to nurture and develop them as leaders in later life. You don't see that out here. What you tend to see out here is a position becomes available, a business grows as an opportunity, and then what we do is we put somebody who is appropriately been in the business long enough, we feel they've got the right attitude, the right skill sets, they're a great technician, and then we make them the leader. You might even make them the manager first and then make them a leader. You might make them a manager and give them leadership responsibilities. But the challenge that you face is they haven't actually been trained as a leader. Now, just to dispel any myth, leadership isn't something that you're born into. You don't inherit leadership through DNA. Leadership is something that is developed in people, learnt, taught, trained, and through experience developed. So what is the process? What is the solution when you're starting to look at this? And the simple way of looking at it is the focus on having an organization that builds leaders, that develops leaders. David Marquette, brilliant guy, an American guy, wrote a book called Turn the Ship Around, refers to it as the leader concept. And effectively, transferring leadership responsibility to the very lowest level for people to start to develop. I refer to it as delegate to develop. Don't delegate to abdicate, delegate to develop. Delegation is something that you can actually, utilize as a tool to, grow leadership within a business, within your team, within your organization. And so what you start to do is to build a pipeline of leaders in your organization. You start to develop, where the leadership potential is, and you start to actually develop and grow that as they go. Don't leave it to chance. Don't just assume that a great technician, someone who's great in their role right now, is going to make a good leader, because often what you do is you promote them to failure. And suddenly they find themselves in that position and they're unable to operate. Whereas actually when you've developed them, when you've given them that structure and that strategy in the background, you end up actually investing in their leadership abilities. With that, obviously, there is management to look at as well. And you can use the same context to develop the management side of life. Although management is more process driven, there's structure and focus with regard, around that. Although I do talk about developing coaching skills as a manager. But the leadership side of life is, what is your leadership pipeline like now? What does it look like? Is it within the business? Are you developing your emergent leaders? Have you got a focus and an eye on the future in terms of this, the growth and structure of the organization? If you look at success in 5 years from now, does the team that you have now represent a team that's going to be able to lead in 5 years' time or 10 years' time? And if not, what can you do about that? The one thing not to do is leave it to chance. Have a great day.